Do you give your supposed to?
Oh, I'm Mason.
How are you, Mason?
I'm Jenny. I'm Cassie.
I'm Ellery.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Nick.
I'm Henry.
All right, nice to meet you all. And I am Mr.Slaw or Brian. Okay, all right. Okay.
So we're just gonna ask you some simple questions about your job and what you do, and just to get information for as like a source for a book we're reading. So in this unit we're reading the book Monster. In the book, a 16-year-old boy named Steve Harmon is involved in the robbery of a convenience store that resulted in the murder of the store owner. Steve is accused of being involved in the robbery. In this story, Steve could have chosen to do the right thing and not assist in the robbery of the convenience store, but instead he chose to take the easy way out. Have you ever dealt with situations where someone has taken the easy way out? If so, how did that affect their case?
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time. We have a lot of parolees and, young men and women on probation, that could have easily done, the right thing, but instead of doing that, they chose to take the easy way out, because they didn't want to be known as a snitch, and consequently they end up, serving like several years behind bars, maybe getting like some really heavy probation time, and things of that nature. So that occurs all of the time, all of the time.
Our book takes place in Harlem, which is a predominantly black area. Steve Harmon's defense says that since Steve is young, 16 and black, the jury will instinctively view him as the guilty. Based on your background knowledge, do you think the state system is equitable for kids?
That's a really good question. The fairness behind the system. I think that it's getting better. However, I still don't think that we've arrived, to total equity, like across the board. I don't see it happening, In fact, we review cases every week at the Macon County Courthouse. And many times I see African Americans, that have committed like certain crimes or whatnot. And I've seen them be sent off, to prison. And I've seen some of their white peers, commit like some of the same crimes, and they receive probation, and I see it all the time. As I indicated, we review these cases on a weekly basis, all right? Every week, we review cases to make a determination if this guy or this lady, are they going to go to prison, all right? Or, will they receive probation? And I think that the numbers, would indicate, that, we have higher cases of African Americans being sent off, for prison, and tougher probation stipulations versus, their white peers. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. Are people trying to understand the problem and trying to make it better? Absolutely, they are. I don't think that I work with a team of people who are just outright racist, and the one thing that I really like about our team is the fact that we really embrace and appreciate diversity, so that's where we are, but just to answer, to answer that question there, I do see the unfairness, like across the board, so.
In our book Monster, Steve Harmon is a 16-year-old kid who has had a good life and has done nothing wrong, until he's involved in a convenience store robbery and the murder of the store owner. But that was only one mistake. If he was one of your cases, how would you counsel him?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. And he only committed one crime? This is like his very first one? The funny thing is that I deal with a number of probationers, that are in this, this type of situation. Basically, what I would do is this. I would use a technique called motivational interviewing, and with this technique, basically, we try to get the probationer or the parolee, in some cases, we try to get them to come up with their own solutions, versus me sitting there saying like, okay, all right, well, that if you do this again, this is going to happen, or you could have tried this. Or do you know how this is going to affect your family, so on and so forth. So basically what we try to do, or what I try to do is, I try to I try to solicit answers from the probationer versus like me giving them answers, if that makes sense. And then and then in addition to that, the one thing that I really try to make my mark in is being very encouraging. Because we all make mistakes. Not all of us go to jail. But we all make mistakes. So the one thing that I try to do is to encourage them, and try to get them to see that, hey, you know what, I have the power to change, and I try to keep that power in their hands versus me holding their hand and showing them how to make their own corrections. So but that happens all the time. I see it all the time. So good question.
All right. In our book, Steve Harmon was a good kid that made one big mistake in his life. Does making one big mistake ruin the life of a juvenile in the system?
Number one, once again, outstanding question. One big mistake. Depends on what that one big mistake is. If you're making one big mistake and you decide to joyride, that's what we used to call it. But if you decide to Grand Theft Auto, your mom's car or something like that, that's one thing. However, whenever you murder someone, that's something totally different. For some crimes, you can receive, a more simple, like a sentence or whatnot. You can receive a little less time, with your probation, that type of thing. But if you go out and make the mistake of killing someone, that can ruin your life. I'm not gonna say forever, but it can ruin your life for a mighty long time. I've had some basketball players. I coached basketball back in Decatur. I don't know if you all are familiar with Decatur, but I coached basketball there, and I had a few basketball players that committed murders. I had one young man who was going into his freshman year. This was right after his 8th grade year. Some older guys convinced him to kill another man, because of his age. They thought that he would get like a lighter sentence, but he didn't get the lighter sentence. I think he's going to spend like the next 30 years behind bars, and by the time he comes out, he's going to be older than